I went into The Life of Chuck expecting this beautiful tale of life and the moments that make it worth living. That's what the trailer showed. Something wonderful about the people and the places that you remember. And that is what we got. It was powerful. And once again, the combo of Stephen King and Mike Flanagan, it's stupendously great. But I was not prepared for how genuinely terrifying and surprisingly haunting this film is. Damn, this movie explores the end of the world and the inevitability of death all around. And you walk out of it, and I genuinely felt a little bit horrified at what I'd watched.
I had the opposite. That is
Oh,
strange because
really?
I was like, wow, it was so interesting how they structured the movie. It keeps you thinking about the intention behind this movie because the movie is told in a three-act structure, but in reverse chronological order. When I walked out the cinema in a whole different place, because I went to Liverpool recently and I was like, let's go see Life of Chuck. So walked out the cinema and it was just so bizarre when I just see like so many people in the street just busy on their lives, working day to day. It just made me feel so appreciated about life and how fragile it can be, but how amazing it is. It was kind of surreal, but it does feel very existential, the end of the world and death is so inevitable, which I do agree, but it's about the now and how it's so fleeting. We want to be in the present and don't worry about the future. It's something that we have right now that we can fully appreciate.
You were just walking through Liverpool and you saw a young person busking. They had their, I don't know, they had their ugly stick out and they were just jamming out and you were listening to the beat and you just started dancing.
Yeah, started dancing to a total stranger. That's what I did, of course. I don't know why I danced.
We need Nick Offerman to have a beautiful narration. John didn't know why he danced, and he
Even
never
though,
told anyone why.
even though he can't hear, he somehow danced.
He can't hear, but he can feel the rhythm. I am
The
actually looking
rhythm.
at a didgeridoo right now. I could go and get the didgeridoo. I could play some tunes.
I'll do an Irish jig, like in
Sure,
Sinners.
because
It's just like,
yeah. Oh, I see. You were going for the sinners angle. See, I was thinking I've suggested an Australian instrument, and you've gone for Irish jig.
let's do combo. Let's do a combo, right?
Yes, like
Let's do
yeah,
that.
easy.
Let's freestyle on that dance
Oh,
as well. So
fantastic. Oh,
let's
we're getting
yeah.
inspired from this movie. The podcast is transitioning now. It's no longer about movies. It's about dance.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
We're going to
Dance.
start by watching all of the seasons of The Next Step. We're going
Oh
to go
wow.
through episode by episode.
We're gonna
Um,
dissect every character arc. We're
Yes.
gonna talk about the themes of this
Oh
show.
God!
But
Why
yeah,
did Eldon give Talia that corn? If there are any Next Step fans, please in the comments, please tell us. For God's
oh
sake,
my
that
god.
brilliant. But no, this film, I do see what you're saying, and I agree with it. But I think it was that first act, especially, that was so kind of harrowing that it did kind
Genuinely
of.
terrifying.
Yeah, there's a question here about okay, so this is based off a short story written by Stephen King. And the question that I had is The Life of Chuck Stephen King's scariest story, even though it's not a horror?
Interesting.
Because obviously his stories play upon loads of terrifying concepts, but the concept here is something as simple as the internet shuts down and nature kind of gives up and the earth begins to die. That is, especially the way that it's told, the way that Mike Flanagan does it, really, really, really freaky.
Yeah, there's one thing that I'll talk about at the very end, which changed my perspective on the movie as I thought about it. But with the third act, it's so terrifying. The world and people just start to lose hope. And then people start to see strange signs of Chuck, just saying, great 39 years of Chuck. I love how everybody's trying to keep their day-to-day life to keep going. People trying to tell stories about their workplace or how their kids doing at school. They want to keep that going until they get the idea of the end of the world out of their heads. Like that's something to push away from. That's like the end of the world problems that we don't want to face. But also what I love is the structure of it is like there's the end of the world problems and then we get to see Chuck's existential problems in the second act. And then in the first act, well, the last act is about childhood problems, like how we face the future, who we become. We all had that terrifying thought as we were kids about death and losing loved ones and all of that things that we have to face years later, yonders later. And what I love about the middle act is we live in that moment and then there's the terrifying future, the waiting part. It's something that we don't want to think about and absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, we're all just waiting for death, aren't we?
Jesus, Tom. That was it. That was a bit just
That's
like
us, folks.
That's all, folks. Oh my God.
Well, there's a very simple trick that this film does that I noticed, and I'm just fascinated. I'm in love with this whole idea. It's the aspect ratio of the film. We start the film in our third act. We begin in our third act, and that is the widest that the aspect ratio gets. That I believe is your classic 16:9. But then with each act, you lose a little bit off the side. Things get smaller, and it's this brilliant reflection of as life goes on, life gets bigger as you grow up. The things that you know, the world that you inhabit, the universe within your head becomes its own world as you learn more. And I think that is a really interesting way to show that just through aspect ratios. A lot of films, obviously, there's the classic IMAX ratio transition where a film goes from its standard to IMAX. But other than that, you don't really see a lot of films play around with aspect ratio. They normally choose an aspect ratio and they stick to it. And I always just love it when there's a reason for having a bit of fun with that.
Yeah, it's a visual story. I'm surprised. I didn't know this is a Stephen King novel, but it didn't feel like that. When I read some Stephen King books, it has a certain style that he has when he's describing the world, which the narrator has that kind of style, the way that he narrates the characters. But it feels very different. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels very... I mean, it is existentially terrifying in the very first act, but across the other two acts, it's so different and it's not a crazy whiplash. It was so interesting to me just to see this is a short story but expanded upon. Short stories are truly underappreciated. I think not many people look into them today, but there are some great short stories. So with Mike Flanagan, he's obviously worked on multiple Stephen King projects, but this feels so different. There is that element of life-affirming things.
Yeah, somehow Mike Flanagan manages to encapsulate different genres. What is your coming-of-age story, or your midlife crisis story, or your deathbed looking back on life story? All these different perspectives, all through the lens of age. There's this ongoing theme of dance. And the way that it's shot, the way that the dance sequences are framed, it truly expresses this soulfulness and this beauty. I absolutely loved it. Did you watch the trailer for this movie?
Only like once in the past, like not too many times. Did you?
Yes. So I watched it quite a few times because I just caught it at the cinema. Pretty much every time I was there. It was
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. That's the thing
yeah.
as well. Like when you go to the cinema, it's so annoying when you get to see the same movie trailer again. And it's like, oh, I'm going to see this in the movie because it shows everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
trailers often, instead of giving you a taste of the film, they give you the whole meal, essentially.
Yeah.
And if you see it more than once, you begin to loathe it. And I didn't get to the point where I was annoyed by this trailer, but I was excited. Every time I was like, wow, this film is going to hit emotionally. This is going to absolutely wipe me out. And in some ways, it definitely surprised me, and it definitely made me feel emotional. There's no doubt about that. But it didn't necessarily kill me. I think I wanted it to. I think I wanted this film to have more of an emotional impact than it did. That's not like a thing that I think is bad about this film, but it is a shame that it didn't hit me in the same way that I wanted. This one didn't do it. Like, did you have a different experience?
Yeah, so there was two moments that I teared up. So
Yeah.
the first one was when the narrator, well, spoilers, but there is this moment where Chuck looks back to the area where he danced with the stranger, and the narrator just goes into this heartbreaking moment about how Chuck is going to die. Like he's slowly going to lose the ability to walk, to see, to remember, but he has the ability to remember why he danced in the first place. And I was like, that's just incredibly sad, just to have that feeling to dance, that amazing spur of the moment. That to me was what life is, that beautiful thing that we get to look back. And then the second one was in the last act where young Chuck watches musicals with his grandma. And to me, that is so special because I grew up watching musicals on VHS with my grandparents, and they would always show me all the great musicals. And also seeing the musicals in the first act as well, where Chiwetel Ejiofor with his characters watching musicals. That was like the last thing that humanity has, that feeling of dance, that freedom. That's the thing that I love, is how musicals have the ability to make dreams out of anything, and dance that has that as well. Oh, and also, do you know the metaphor for this movie?
Maybe not.
Okay, so, well, this is not a theory. The one thing that I clocked on, I don't know if you did, but I was thinking, why on earth this is structured in a way? Why was there sign saying 39 years for Chuck? And why was there characters that we saw in the last act, whether they come back, there's some things that we don't understand about, like Karen Gillan's character. Chiwetel Ejiofor character as well. They appear out of nowhere. It doesn't make sense until the one thing that hit me was the line with Chuck's teacher, we have multitudes in our heads, like our universe is our head. So this is a huge metaphor in the first act. The very first act is a metaphor for Chuck's brain, his universe completely dying.
Yeah.
And
yeah. That's exactly what I got from it. You see littered throughout faces, like you see Raoul Coley drinking a coffee in the second act, and he's one of the nurses in the third act, and there's the girl on the roller skates, and all these different things, like the musical, like Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, all these elements. You're right, that is all part of it, and it's this representation of the different ways that people react to the world coming to a close. Your own death is your own world coming to a close, and that's so interesting to behold expressed in such a way. And that's what I think the trailers really skipped out on. In many ways, I feel like they lied. I feel like you're expecting something so much more feel good. I've seen the posters calling it a life-affirming masterpiece, and I definitely think it is life-affirming. But my God, I really think that the idea of death that kind of haunts this film, the idea that there's that little attic room in the house that no one's allowed to go in because Chuck's grandpa has seen something in there. He thinks he's seen ghosts, but what he's really seeing are people on the day that they die. And he sees himself dying, having a heart attack. And then right at the end, Chuck, at the age of, 16 or so, sees himself dying at the age of 39, and how he decides to respond to that. That's some really scary stuff. I think that this film was a massive surprise because I was expecting the feel good. I was expecting the life affirming. But from the trailer, I was very obviously like, okay, so the film will start with him as a kid. It will go through his life and then it will end with Tom Hiddleston. But no, it goes the opposite way and constantly makes us question what's important when we die and what we're going to remember. It makes you want to just operate differently in many ways. There are parts of me being like, oh, maybe I should dance more often. Maybe I should just
dance on the freeway, like in La La Land. Yeah,
yes. In traffic, just get out and just start doing pirouettes.
And then people just like, what was he
doing?
It's too hot. Please, we just want to get through this day, please. I do not want to dance with anybody today, please.
But it's like, Chuck is out of town. He's going to some conference, the peak of boring shit, right? And he's a businessman. He's not living the most exciting life, even though he himself is enjoying it. And the fact that he stops and he takes that moment to just express it all, there's beauty in that. I think that hits, especially when you then find out that what he wants to do with his life is dance. And seeing this little guy just dance was so exciting and so beautiful. And there are two particular moments in the film where people look up at the stars. And that was the moment where young Chuck looks up at the stars and he basically realizes, what am I doing? What's the point in wasting this moment by not doing the dance? And he goes back into the school dance and he does that dance, and it's so lovely. And then at the end, the final thing that occurs in Chuck's head is Chiwetel Ejiofor and Karen Gillan looking at the stars, and their final thought as the stars literally blink out of existence is love. That gets me where I live, man.
Wow. Existentialism, guys. Yay. We talked about it.
This is actually our 5-year special. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years, and what a movie to choose for that occasion. It's all about the choices and the paths and all the different experiences and people. Whoever's listening are choosing to listen to us for this long, and we're choosing to be here. I have work in an hour, and we're just choosing to experience things and express them. And I love movies.
I love movies like Keanu. This movie kind of gave me that vibe to Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the way of living your life. It does have that same sentiment, but this is a very odd movie. Like, if you want to recommend this to people, how do you recommend it? Like, oh yeah, this is gonna be very existential.
That's what I'm saying. Can you imagine? Because we were gonna watch this film no matter what, because Mike Flanagan, Stephen King, the cast. We're gonna watch this for.
We talk about movies anyway. Yeah,
exactly. We watch this for a myriad of reasons. But can you imagine watching this based off the trailer? You'd be sat there going like, what the fuck? Especially that first act, which is not like the trailer in the slightest. It's terrifying.
When that first act finished, I was in the cinema. I was like, oh. It's literally like the ending of Oppenheimer. Literally that. Right. It was like existential dread. I was like, is this the end of the movie? Because I was like, going to walk out.
There's some really powerful stuff with a couple of characters who show up briefly. So Matthew Lillard has a conversation with Chiwetel Ejiofor in that third /first act, where he kind of basically just says, what is all this about? Is it nature giving up? Is it God? Is it whatever? And again, you just begin to draw all these real life parallels. Like, we're watching this in the middle of a decade where it almost feels like like the world is imploding with the friction between places getting more and more explosive, and natural disasters and pandemics and ideologies all crashing all around us. And it's like, what actually is all this? But then you also get to see a scene with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Carl Lumbly's character where he basically just says, once I had dreams and I've lived my life a certain way, and now I just like to watch the sunset for a little bit. And it's like, God damn it, like that first act could have been a whole movie in itself. All three of these acts could have been a whole different thing, but together it's just something so beautiful. But I am so scared of what this film is telling me.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's terrifying as well, like movies that question reality. And then there's comfort movies as well.
Would this be a comfort movie for you?
No, this is not a comfort movie. This
Why?
is terrifying.
I feel like I've changed your opinion here. At the beginning you were like, no, this is life-affirming and beautiful.
Well, once you
and
talk
now you're
about
like,
Matthew
I'm scared.
Lillard's monologue in the movie, it's like, oh, yes, that's why. That's why it was the existentials. But, however, it does give me that comfort about, like, the most human thing that we have is memories. Just enjoy it.
The amazing thing is that this film does both. It can be really freaky, but also be really powerful in a positive way.
Yeah.
And this film's been out for ages in America, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it.
It's
I can
very
see this
strange.
film. Yeah, I can see this film having a massive like impact, but I guess not. I mean, I don't expect this video to
In
do
the
well.
United Kingdom,
but-
where everyone's just too grumpy. I'd say it's a good movie to look into life-affirming things after the first act. That's what I'm trying to say. Like after the first act, you feel happy. You're like, oh my god, a dance! It's dancing time. And then
Yeah, but even,
you know,
to be fair, even the first act, I think, is still incredibly life-affirming in the sense that during all this, you get two ex-lovers coming back together to just spend the final seconds together.
and
saying,
actually get to see the stars properly. That's a bonus.
Yeah,
that's a bonus.
my God.
Like we don't get to see the stars that often.
I'd welcome the end of the world if I got to see the bloody stars. That sounds great.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll have a cup of coffee and I just watch it and I'm like,
Oh,
hey,
God. Dude, I swear to God, if the world ends in the daytime, I'm going to be pissed.
I'm gonna be mad if I can't see the stars. What was the point? So I'm just gonna put on. Wait, what would you do? I don't know what I do. I'll be lying on the floor. I'll be looking up. I'll be listening to. You know what? Crazy Frog. I'm gonna listen to Crazy Frog.
Wow. I tell you what, I can't remember who did the score for this, but it was quite. Oh, I do remember who did the score for this. It was the Newton brothers.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
I saw that.
Their score was really cool. It was cosmic. It held this weight of decision and of life, and it was just movies. Movies are cool.
Movies are cool. Yeah, I just don't know what to end it with. It's just so terrifying to think about.
You can end it by guessing what age you'll be when you die.
Oh no, I don't. I don't want to think about that.
I don't know. I think if I made it to a ripe age, I might be in my 80s, perhaps.
You know what? 80s. Yeah, I'll go with that.
That's another 60 years of the podcast, John. You've locked in.
Okay.
You signed contractually.
Tom, what did you think of Infinity War 23?
Back in my day, it was so much better when those Russo cousins did it. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe that's actually the worst idea I've ever had.
That would be terrible.
But for now, right here,
now.
right now, on our 5-year anniversary, what are you going to give The Life of Chuck out of 10, sir?
8.
Very nice. I'm going for 9. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our 5-year special. This feels...
Yay! Bring
out
out the
of-
champagne! Bring out the champagne!
It always sneaks up on me every year. I just need to take a moment to just say thank you, anyone who's listened. If this is your first video, if this is your 261st video, I'm just so grateful for everyone who has listened and engaged and commented and all that stuff. It truly means the world. And to everyone who has worked on the show, Zain Afzal, every week doing the thumbnails, absolutely just
Insane.
the goat. Jones-Meyer and Ronan Phillips for the theme song and the vocals, just all that stuff. It truly is invaluable. I'm so happy that people have used their talents for this passion of ours. And of course, I can't not say John, the greatest co-host I could ever possibly hope to ask for
Aw.
every single week. This is so much fun. One day we're going to do it in the same room. I swear.
Yes.
I swear. It's just brilliant. I
Yeah.
have a blast doing this. And 5 years, 2,000 subscribers. It's just a wonderful little thing that we have here. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. It's insane that it's been 5 years since we talked in your garden, Tom, that we
Yes,
talked about
that
DC
original
fandom.
video.
Wow, a lot has changed. It's just so fun. It's so fun. So thank you, everybody. If anyone has their favorite moment on the podcast,
Every time John mentions Cowboy Bebop.
yeah, maybe a billion times in this podcast, but it's a lot of fun. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the team.
Yes.
And you, Tom,
Yeah.
as well. Thank you for being such a
Oh.
brilliant co-host as well. So thank you, everybody.
As ever, if you liked it, like it, subscribe, all that stuff. I don't know what's next week. Come back if you want. Year 6 begins. And yeah, send us an email with whatever. We'll answer it, I promise.
Yeah,
you can
we'll
follow
answer
us.
on pod.
You can give it a 5-star review. All that jazz.
Yeah, we have social media, all that in the description below. Thanks to everybody here, and take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, and thank you for 5 years.
5 years. Woo!
Woo!